of serving as the elected county treasurer up in Lake County, Illinois. As treasurer, I not only handle the money that's coming in and investing of it, but I handle the money going out as well. So right now I'm running for Illinois State Comptroller, and I'm already doing the controller job. Billions of dollars go out of my office, and all checks have my name written on it. And so a little bit about my background. I grew up in the north side of Chicago. My parents had a business on Lawrence in Koreatown. It was called Kim's Business Systems. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I live on the north side. What neighborhood did you grow up in?
Oh, so it was by Central Park in Montrose.
Oh my gosh, my school is like just north of there. Okay, anyway,
Yo. So in the 80s, like all of Koreatown was right there by Lawrence. And my parents had a business there, and it was called Kim's Business Systems. And my dad sold and fixed like copiers, typewriters, fax machines, like basically anything you would need for business. And he catered to like all the Korean companies because he could speak Korean. So like if they had a dry cleaners, a restaurant, HVAC, whatever it is, like he would be like the business systems guy for them. And my mom would do like the invoicing and all like the paperwork. And so they were like a 2-person like small business. And I went to Walt Disney Magnet School at that time. Every family like has their hardship times. And honestly, for me, it was myself. In college, I had a kid unexpectedly, and while that's like very hard, and I'm talking to an AAPI audience here, it's even harder when you're Asian. Okay. My parents immediately like stopped supporting me in every way possible. They were so mad. And I had to sign up for like WIC, Medicaid, and Head Start, and like work full time during the day, go to school at night while I'm like juggling a kid. But like I like crawled over that finish line after like 8.5 years and got my degree. So every job I've had after that, because I like worked through college, was management and director level. My specialty is actually in the tech sector and the .com. So my brain thinks differently and totally outside the box, like in a good way. It's always like, what's the objective and how do we get there? And if there's barriers, how do we get over that? And so I think it's actually something really, really good for government. I've been not only a village trustee, but I've also been at the township, and now I am a county treasurer. So I've like moved up the ranks. And Susanna Mendoza, the current controller, has been my work mentor for the last like 7 years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to like running for this office to like, technologically advance it, but also because I really love people. And I've been driving around. I will just add for, the newer audience who just got here, I'm literally in a storage room at the McHenry County Democrats office because like I got to be out on the road and meeting the people in person. And so I'll just, take my meetings where I can. Usually it's in my car. Usually it's like with like a seatbelt on, but like you get the storage room, which is like an upgrade.
thank you so much. I think that's important context. So you kind of went into this, but what exactly does a comptroller do? What do you wish more people understood about that role?
Yeah. So the controller's office, so currently as county treasurer, because we're like a county, we're smaller, I handle all the money coming in and the investing of it and all the money going out. The state is so big that you have one person to handle all the money coming in and investing it. That's the state treasurer, and all the money going out. That's the state controller. And what do I wish that they knew more about it? Well, the state controller also like registers like cemeteries and crematoriums. There's like other things that they do as well, including really having the controls for, it's not automatic that all the checks go out. You actually are the faucet. So you can prioritize, what to pay as well. And during times of hardship, like for example, the current controller, Susanna Mendoza, didn't pay bonuses when it was like a hardship time for the state of Illinois. Paid the bills, paid people's salaries, but like bonuses were on hold.
Now that we know a little bit about what you do, how do you think your identity influences your experiences in your role? And have you faced any obstacles because of it?
Yo, I'm Asian 100%. And I have definitely heard feedback. Like as a village trustee, someone gave public commentary saying like, well, it's like saying Holly Kim's a North Korean spy. And I was like, what? And I dropped my pen and I was like, oh, in my mind, I was like, it's because I'm Korean. I was like, like they will sear into my brain and never let me forget that they just think I'm not one of them. Along those same lines, what's also interesting, and I'm sure many of you feel this way, where you have like one foot in each boat. I've had experiences the other way as well. Like when one of the Korean business owners came for like a sign grant to the village. And I asked about the money, how much it costs. And like our building department forgot to put the price on there. And usually it's on there. So I just asked about like the dollar amount. Is it very expensive? And the business owner got upset and said, it's not expensive. And I said, you know what? Time out. I go, the maximum we can give, and we always give to everybody, is 5,000. So I just make a motion that we give the 5,000. Well, so we granted the money to them. And one of my friends went to that business to get their nails done wearing like a Holly Kim for mayor shirt. And that business owner was so mad and said, Holly Kim, we Koreans, we never talk about money. And so she was mad because I asked about money, which is like a no-no in our culture. But like, meanwhile, I'm a village trustee and I'm giving you money, so I have to ask about it. And when I told that story to my mom, she's like, Holly, you should go visit them and bring them a cake. And I was like, Mom, I'm not bringing them a cake. Like they're in the wrong. But like, I'm always battling like one foot in like each boat. I'm like living in this world and the other. And what's funny is all these years later, that's literally where I go to get my nails done all the time. So like I give them my business and my support, but it was just like a cultural misunderstanding,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. What advice would you give to young AA and HPI students who want to get into politics or civic leadership but feel underrepresented?
So number one, you definitely are underrepresented. And so I would love to see more people, running for office who are AAPI. As chair of the Asian Caucus of the state of Illinois, it is one of my goals, not only to elevate, Asian Americans, but also young people. Like I always think that there should be someone on the school board who just graduated, because who better than like someone who's went through those hallways and knows which one's too hot or which one has like, a leak in it, to sit on the school board and like represent the young people. At least one, right, out of the board should be someone who's gone there. The other thing too, as advice I would give, is to like lean into your culture. Right now, Asians are hot. Like Asian American, like you see Netflix, like we've taken over in lots of different ways. And it's not a bad thing to lean into your culture and introduce it to others, right? Because that will help like combat some of the perpetual foreigner syndrome that happens, where people constantly think like we aren't American or American enough, when we've literally been born here our whole lives and gone to school here and contributed in every way possible, including our parents. And so I think, our existence with intentionality like helps that. During COVID time, I literally had like a online Squid Games chat. And every year, like for my fundraiser, I do Korean barbecue, because this is my way of like introducing my culture.
Thank you so much. That was a really insightful answer. So back to like your role as like treasurer trustee, what's the thing that you've done as a public servant over your whole career that you're most proud of? Like the one thing that you're most proud of, and why?
So there's a couple of cool stuff that I've done as county treasurer right now, including like the investment buckets that I'm in control of. I've done over 200% in returns, which is far more robust than like any county treasurer ever has in the past. And it's to a point where one of these buckets, I generated an extra $3.2 million that I was able to give to the schools, the parks, the libraries. And there's a school out there that got an extra $140,000 they didn't even ask for. And it was off of the interest that I generated. And that kind of stuff is like game changing, right? But I've also done like financial literacy seminars, and I always think about like our disadvantaged communities. So like, it's how do we break these cycles of not knowing how to use money, because in a lot of our cultures, talking about money is rude. But you know who talks about money all the time? Rich people. They will talk about it all the time, or on phone calls with their like wealth manager in front of their children. And so we break that barrier and we talk about money and how to like either invest or retire or repair your credit. And we've even done like a housing seminar for free grants into like our Black and Brown communities, where they've historically been redlined, so that they could start home ownership and build generational wealth. So we have changed, lives in that way. But I think what I'm most proudest of is like, no matter what role I've been in government, I've always pushed against the system. And when they ask me, like, well, you're supposed to do XYZ as, whatever your official capacity is. I say to them, I go, but am I here for that or am I here for the people? And I've always pushed back in a way that it's for the people over and over. And so I think that's what I'm most proudest of is even like a decade later and in different positions, I'm always doing like what's best for the people.
Okay, thank you so much. So about like your race itself. So Comptroller, not like the most eye-catching position on the ballot. I think we could all agree. And it's obviously really, really important for Illinois' like financial longevity, but most people probably aren't like super keyed into this specific race. So what are you doing to like reach those disengaged voters and get them to care about your specific campaign and also just financial issues more broadly?
Yeah, so a couple thoughts on that. It's funny because everyone's like, that isn't like the most glamorous race, and I'm like, it's glamorous for me. Like as someone who's a county treasurer, like I literally want to do the job. Like I'm not even like running to like do something else someday. Like I really want to like nerd out. And like being from the tech sector and like the .coms, I'm like, let me launch like software that's been waiting in the wings. Let me project manage like process improvement. Like that's what like I nerd out on, and I love it because everywhere I go I leave it better than like when I got there. So like yes, I totally want to do it. And it's interesting because you're like, okay, how do we leverage people so that it's like interesting to them? Well, I think one of the lessons that we learned, especially when Trump won, is to be not only in the spaces physically where people are, but online where a lot of people are. Because even if they don't open the door, they will open the door that's the phone. We open that door all the time, like all day long. And even seniors, they can't tell me seniors aren't on their phone. They're literally on their phone all the time. And so, like, because they write like angry comments sometimes, depending, even the conservatives, like, they'll troll. And it's like everyone's on their phones. And so we are not only in online spaces, like I literally live on the internet on every platform. I live stream, I will go on podcasts. I will go where the people are because that has changed and evolved. And one of the things I definitely want to point out, and I've been saying lately to like Democratic audiences, is to be cognizant that every single Charlie Kirk candlelight vigil was a Turning Point USA recruitment vehicle. If it wasn't, they wouldn't have had the signs out that say Turning Point USA or Young Republicans. And I just saw in one of like the groups in my county, somebody following up to that going, hey, all the people who went to the vigil, like I'm so-and-so from like Young Republicans, we're gonna, organize and like meet up. And so they're doing like a follow-up to that, right? And we as Democrats need to be prepared for the future because we need more people who can go online, live stream, and do stuff I'm doing because we need more than just like Gavin Newsom. We need to like stack our bench with like an arsenal. And so it's interesting because it's like on one hand, it's like, okay, who can do this job? But on another hand, it's like, okay, aside from that, here's our other needs as a Democratic Party and who's really there to do that. And once that question's answered, like it becomes more clear, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. What's going back to identity related questions? What steps do you believe AA and HPI leaders could take to ensure more representation in politics moving forward?
For sure. I would say intentionality, 100%. You need leaders like such as myself who do it with intention and like bring people along. So over in my area, it's like, okay, who's running for office as AAPI? In fact, I have a statewide race with the entire state of Illinois, and I have been going around cataloging like any agents who are running for office. And it's like, hey, do you want to do a joint lit piece? How can we help you? Because I'm also disrupting like what it means to like campaign as well, because traditionally it's like let each person raise a bajillion dollars separately and then do their own individual mailer and I'm like, okay, but why can't we combine? Like if the internet can collab, right? And if we can collab on social, why can't we collab like in real life? And so I'm disrupting these models and helping in the meantime, like while doing that, helping other AAPI candidates all around the state of Illinois because we can co-brand. And like it's just novel territory, but I think we as Democrats even like we need to evolve like how we're campaigning.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think more unconventional campaign tactics, at this point, let's see what works. And I think, yeah, definitely having candidates who, especially if you go into office already knowing someone, I think that just it makes the whole system gel more. So yeah, I'm really glad you're doing that. So our final prepared question. When you look at Illinois' and America's financial future, what worries you the most? And on the other hand, what gives you the most hope?
So what worries me the most is literally what's worrying everyone right now, right? Is like as we're seeing like just fascism and like the Constitution be shred. And it's like what can we do on our end? And that's again where I reiterate, like you cannot just have like polished bullet point politicians running for office anymore. We need fighters. Because look at, what's going on. And it shouldn't be where it's like Republican people are the ones who do whatever it takes to win and blah blah blah. Like where are we on this, right? And so you need some bold people who actually lead. And I would say that disrupting the model is truly where it's at. In addition to like we need people who can like live stream. We need people who can make TikTok videos. We need people who can, this is like the game what is it, the game field of the future. And so if we want to win with more candidates, like that's what we need to think of. And 100%, by the way, I'm that candidate, so thank you. Running for Illinois. And let me also tell you that I have a lot of hope in like the future and like the young people. So I used to be moderator of the subreddit called Run For It, and we teach other Redditors how to run for office. And like as someone who lives on the internet and like really encourages and gives power to like other people, not myself, it is in these spaces. And like especially having young kids who are like young, they're like 21, 19, 17, and then I got a 7-year-old. Like my kids, while they keep me young, they also look like a K-pop band. One kid's got pink hair and one's got purple hair. But it's like I actually encourage like leadership, and like tattooed, pierced, dyed hair, whatever. Like you guys are literally the future. And a lot of times we have a hard time with adults passing the baton of power to younger people. But I think if we did that a lot more, like we'd be in a better situation than we're in right now.
Thank you so much. So that's the end of our pre-prepared questions. So now I'm just going to open it up for everyone here. If you have a question that you want to ask Holly Kim, just raise your hand and we'll call on you.
Yeah, it's like Reddit AMA.
Yeah.
Ask me anything. And if you can't speak in the mic, you could type it in too, because I think one person has no microphone.
Yeah. Monica, if you want to unmute if you can, or you can type.
What do you think has been the most fun part about running your current campaign, and what do you think has been the most difficult part?
So the most fun part, I think, so I'm like a Labrador Retriever and I love people. So I'm like, oh boy, strangers. And I'm like really excited to like meet people, which is funny because you always tell your children not to talk to stranger danger, but I literally do it for like a living. I think I get very energized meeting like different kinds of people, different cultures. They feed me. Like I love, everything about that. The hardest part is probably just the distance. The state is so big. A lot of times it's like you have to drive like X amount of hours. So I can't go to like all the things I want to go to, right? Because it's like physically impossible until they figure out teleporting. But like for now, it's like I'm limited to like how many people I can meet and what I can do based on like the driving time. Although if they all want to meet like this, I could probably meet with them all. It's just they're not all like technologically there.
Audit, if you want to unmute.
So the Illinois State Comptroller is one of several constitutional officers, the other being like the governors, the lieutenant governor, you've got the treasurer, and you have like Kwame's office, so like attorney general. And they're all supposed to be like checks and balances independent of each other. So you work together and you can all be friends, but you don't work for each other. And that's how that works. Additionally, how my office currently is county treasurer. So I'm going to pivot from that to like county treasurer. How it works with the controller's office is we receive payments from the state of Illinois. So I currently work with their office a lot. What's really interesting is like I notice when I get transfers in from like banks, it comes with detail. But when I get transfers in from the state, it doesn't have detail, which tells me they're using like an old Oracle-based system. So like it's something I definitely want to work on when I get in there. And I'm sure like this is all just stuff that happens with time, and government usually like, you know, it takes a while to like turn the barge and like launch these things. So like I don't hate on anybody. It's just when I see that, I'm like, that's something I can work on when I get in there. You guys can go super nerdly. I'm like, it's my jam.
Wait, I'm wondering, like, so you seem to be really interested in like financial stuff, but then comptroller is more so like public service. So I'm wondering, like, how did you get to this point of like this intersection of like kind of like more like finances, but also like public service, and what motivated you to go into public service and this specific kind of positions of like treasurer and now comptroller? I'm not sure if you answered this earlier, but would love a response now.
Sure. So I'm sorry. So the controller's job is all the money that is going out. So it is super finance related, but I guess it's also like very social too. Like you have to be out in the public a lot. So what's interesting about that is I think I was always just a really outgoing kid. Like there's this phrase in Korean that parents say, and it would be like, "Ya, gabajima," which means like, "Hey, stop being goofy." And like I loved like being goofy as a kid. Like I would make like impersonations, and I would just, you know, get bopped on the head for doing that kind of stuff. So I think I've always just like really enjoyed being social and with the people. What's really interesting is around college, like I took a talents test at church, and they said my number one answer is missions, which means like I'm really good for going out and talking to complete strangers. So I think it's just like innately in my heart that like I just love being with the people. And I like grew up during the time where like Jesse White, you know, the Secretary of State, would go to everything. And I even saw him go to like the Filipino events, and they have this like dance where it's like a tribal dance with like bamboo rods that they're like slamming together, and you like step in between them. Like it's a very precise dance. Well, I saw Jesse White take off his shoes and like do the Filipino dance, and I was like, what? And like, you know, I've always been like amazed at like that kind of like civic service, you know, where it's like you're of the people, like, and it was very inspiring. So when I was in college, I actually took a bunch of language classes because I wanted to go and take the foreign service exam to work for the US government for like diplomacy, the consulate. You'd represent the United States as their face to like other countries. And so it was always like that continued like service and like representation, like sort of a thing. And so I think that's always just been my heart, is like being in the community. Is that what you asked? I'm sorry. Oh, Annika has to go. Bye.
Bye, Annika. I actually have a quick question for you. So I don't know like how much you've heard about like this specific thing, but especially when it comes to, obviously you're talking about like fighting Trump, fighting fascism. So you've heard of the like soft secession theory,
I
right?
would
Or
love to
like
talk about
Illinois.
that. Yes, I've heard
Yeah.
about it.
Can you tell us some about that? Like, is that something you'd be in favor of? How would your office, since you're managing money that goes out, how would your office relate to that? Like, what do you think the financial impacts of that would be on Illinois and on other states?
So first and foremost, like for those who don't know, soft secession means like the blue states always give more money to the federal government than the red states. So it's a matter of like, would we turn off the faucet so that everyone else can suffer? It's kind of like the soft secession, like, you know, in like a Twitterized version. The real answer to that is the federal monies actually go out through a department that's under the governor's office, and it is not the controller's office, because I actually called to find out if this is something that could be done. And it's completely a different office. But what we could do in order to take stands is, first of all, as grant funding is cut to things such as like rural health, or like, you know, like public aid, medical services, things like that. As controller, I can prioritize to make sure that those payments are on time. so that in lieu of like their grant funding that they receive expedient like reimbursement from the state of Illinois. I also could politically stand with the other controllers of other states and like use our platform to like stand up against like stuff Trump is doing and use like transparency to highlight like how they are causing problems, right? And really make articles out of this because the Republicans are really good at that, right? They will say like, oh, because they did this, like this is going bad. Like we need to also do that as well. And if you have a statewide platform and you can join with other blue states, like that would be incredible to like highlight what they're doing that's bad. But like, yeah, to like bring it back full circle, technically it's not the controller's office that would like soft secede.
All right, thank you so much. One thing I think you should prioritize if you get elected. I'm in Chicago Public Schools. Rumor has it they're gonna have to start making us pay for our AP exams again because of Trump's funding cuts. Anything you can do about that would be really appreciated by a lot of us. So, you know, I don't want to pay $625 for my AP exams. So, yeah. Anyone have any last questions before?
I might be the only candidate running that went to Chicago Public Schools, or at least college in
Okay.
Chicago. So I also want to throw out there, like in case I forget later, all my social handles are at like Vote for Holly Kim, and my email is voteforhollykim@gmail. So if you have ideas like that, can you send it to my Gmail? Because we have like a repository of things for me to like take with me when I get in, and I want to remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's interesting, yeah, as I'm not controller yet, so I haven't done any of those, but I'm building the list. As someone who lives on the internet, I'm definitely a crowdsourcer, and I do feel like always the audience and people have really good ideas, but they're just never going to run for office, right? Either it's not in their personality, or maybe they just don't like people, but they're very, very smart, and these ideas should be listened to. So, one example I can point to is as county treasurer, there's a person who came in and they live in mobile homes and they were paying their mobile home tax bill and they wanted to give me feedback. So like I came out and the guy goes, just so you know, like I can't always make ends meet and I have to pay it late, but the fees get to be higher than my tax bill. And like I can't pay the tax bill because the fees are always accruing. And if I pay a bit of the fees, like it's like, okay, for 1 month, but then it keeps accruing and I never get to the balance. So like I looked into it with my state reps and he was right. Like the mobile home taxes unfairly, not like regular homes, can get to 200% of their bill, the penalty for paying late. And so I ran a bill with my state rep that even if you pay late, the late fee will never be more than half the bill. And this is one of those instances where like I do things for the people and not for like my office, because my office is ever evolving and it's a social construct beyond like my statutory duties. I could do so much more. And so even my staff was like, that's not what this office does, but I did it anyway. And we ran to like reduce that penalty. All the county treasurers in the state of Illinois fought me, all of them. They didn't want this to pass, but I got it passed by one vote in the House and the Senate signed it and JV signed it. And my county's the only one that has that relief for like our mobile home residents. But that came out of like somebody's feedback, right? And so, I'm like, if wrong is wrong, okay? And I think we need more like people who run for office. Like I swear, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm in the space on accident, but I can sleep at night. Like, yo, awesome. Can I give one more example? Okay. So when I was a village trustee, I would host these sessions on like how to appeal your property assessments. And one time the village manager like had me sit in his office. It was like the principal's office. He's like, "No, Holly, if these people appeal their taxes, like we're going to get less tax money." And like I was newly elected. I've never been elected to anything before and I was like is this illegal? And he's like, "No, it's public info. Like, it's not illegal." Like, and I was like, oh, okay. And like the gears were turning and I was like, my understanding is they're only granted that appeal if it's warranted. Like if it's evidence-based, then they will lower the assessment. But if not, they're not going to do it, right? And he goes, well, yes, that's true. And I was like, so if people are paying more property taxes than they're supposed to, unfairly, like shouldn't it be corrected? And he goes, well, yes, but you could understand how like we would get less money. And I said to him, I go, and I meant this totally honestly, I said, am I here for the village or am I here for the people? And he goes, well, you're a village trustee now. And I go, yeah, but I thought when I run for office, I'm for the people. Like you're fighting for the people. And he goes, that's like a determination you probably will have to make yourself. And I was like, okay. So I've always, it's like F this, F that. Like I'm here for the people. So yeah, it's been fun though, because like once that's my brand, I just slap it on and I'm always that way. So
Right. Thank you so much. So it looks like we're about done with questions, unless anyone has any last minute ones.
yeah, what about like Ty or Damien or Zoe or HSDA, AA, NHPI Caucus?
I could ask a question. I might as well, since we have you here. First, I just want to say hi. My name's Damien, and I want to say hi to Maggie, because I was in contact with her. My question is, you have described yourself as an independent of political establishment influences. How will you maintain that independence if you get in that office?
I love that question. So what's interesting about when I ran for county treasurer, before that, the Democratic Party offered me state rep and state senate. And I said, I just looked at like my priorities and I have like 3 kids and they're about to go to high school. They're like older than that now, but at that time, and I said, I'd really like to be home at night. So I think I'm going to run for county treasurer. And they're like, but we didn't offer that to you. And I go, I know, but when I look at like, my priorities, like I want to be home at night. So like I just ran for county treasurer. And because I chose my own path, they like largely left me alone. That being said, I lead with intention and I bring the party with me. And I do like avant-garde things in order to make it a big tent and get like new people in the party as well. And so arguably in this race here, and I want to make sure I say this like gently and nicely, because I really mean it like nicely. It's like you have people who are part of like Springfield and they have like tiers and seniority and like decorum they have to observe and people that they have to work with. I literally don't. Like I fundraise just as much as they do, but I'm a county treasurer. Like I'm here to like manage money. I'm here to do, whatever it is that people like crowdsource me to do. And I will definitely work with every single one of them because I like have legislator friends too, but I don't have to observe like any sort of tiers of, if you think about it, right, that's kind of the outside lane I'm in. So I get to maintain like a lot of independence. That being said, like I'm super collaborative. Like I said, even like doing social media collabs and whatnot. So like, it'll be interesting to see how the future is, but my brain has always been different. And I guess the way to like, it's like, how do you prove that is just in like the different capacities I've been elected that I've just been consistent, in my independence.
I have a quick question. So what's like the biggest lesson you've learned in your role as Lake County Treasurer?
So one of the biggest lessons I learned as village trustee is government sometimes is not about facts and logic. It's about majority vote, right? And that was like the first brain explosion I ever had. But as Lake County treasurer, the greatest lesson I learned is that it just feels really good to do good things for the people. When we've done like over 100 financial literacy seminars and we teach it with other banks, but also credit unions. Like I was the first to pull in credit unions into the mix. And we tell our stories to the audience of like, growing up with families who don't talk about money or, overdraft fees and like what we had to live through as like, people learning financial footing. And it's like, we just really wish that someone had talked to us about these things back then. And so like, I just get a lot of joy. And again, it's related to money. And I will tell you like what it roots from in like a Superman origin story. it's because not only did I have to pinch every single penny when I was like in college with a kid, but when it rains, it pours. And literally, a relative stole my identity at that time and completely trashed my credit. So, going from that kind of like money trauma, like I literally want to protect everyone so they never have to be in that kind of situation, which is also why it's unique that, like, yeah, I'm in it to actually do this job.
All right, thank you so much. I think that's a great note to end things on. It was really lovely to talk to you. I'm really excited to see what you do with your campaign and what you will do if you win or any future offices you might hold. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. I know we're all really grateful to hear from you. And I hope we see you again soon.
Yep. Follow me on all my socials, you guys, and we'll engage. Wait, hold up. Thank you. Make sure
Bye.
you tag. Okay, bye.
Thank you.